Welcome back to Great Day Houston. We're trying to help you negotiate some of the emotional trauma that a lot of folks have gone through after Harvey. And so you're sending us your questions. We're talking to Melinda Havard with Second Baptist Counseling Center. Dr. Ben Young, a pastor at Second Baptist Church, and also has his PhD in organic leadership. It took leadership to actually kind of start this recovery process here. And Robert Hilliker with the Lovett Center. All right, back to the questions. Miranda is asking, my daughter lost her cheer uniform in the flood, and she seems more upset about that than losing our home. How do I teach her that things can be replaced? Well, really in the big picture, the home is a thing too, but it's really about the symbolism, I think, that a home may have and that this cheer uniform probably has for this young girl.
Right. Miranda, your daughter, this is her identity, is her cheer uniform. So she's got you, she's got her family, she's secure in that. But she's looking to get back in touch with that identity. So yes, she's grieving the loss of that uniform, which the good news is she can have that replaced.
Yeah, but the uniform means more than just the uniform, right?
I think that's what Melinda's really speaking to is that, as an adolescent, they're so usually identified with their roles, football player, cheerleader, whatever the case may be. And so, it probably feels like a blow to personal identity, which is why
it's the case for adults as well, because when you lost things, think about what's floating in that water. It's family memories, it's pictures, it's the times that you shared in there, it's where you brought your baby home to the nursery, the whole bit. And I even know for us at KHOU 11, many people know our studios went underwater, and I kept feeling guilty about when we would be able to go back in because I wanted to get my Emmy Awards. And then I wanted to also get some pictures of my son that were taken before the digital age. So, those things I couldn't replace. Luckily, I was on the second floor and I was able to get those things, but for so many other people, it floated away in the water.
Yeah, and I think, again, it's okay to grieve losses, whether you're talking about grieving the loss of a house or the loss of a cheerleading uniform. So we can't pick and choose and say, well, you've got to grieve only the big things.
Yeah, we can't justify for somebody else what that grief is.
You can't, no.
Yeah. All right, Megan says, I did not lose anything tangible in Harvey, but I did lose my sense of security. How do I get that back? Because again, Harvey made all of us vulnerable. We couldn't say exactly where the flooding was going to take place. A lot of people weren't prepared for the flooding that happened with the reservoir release of water. So it's one of those things that can, like 9/11, that can make you feel very insecure.
I think one thing to do just practically is to be sure that you or your family is prepared for the next hurricane, the next flood. That gives you a sense of security.
Yeah.
But I think we have to face the reality too that we live in an uncertain world. We really do. There's uncertainty that surrounds us at any turn. And so Harvey and this simply has brought that out in a lot of people.
And Harvey was one of those things that we at least knew it was coming. Most people don't know the car accident's coming. Most people don't know that so many other things in life could be, an illness could be coming.
And let me say this, there are two sides to uncertainty. There's uncertainty that's scary and overwhelming, but there's also opportunity in uncertainty. If something's not certain, it means that there's the ability to pursue a new path forward. And so, there's kind of two sides of the same coin, and that's why that's what I encourage people to try and look at as well. That there is the hardship that comes with not knowing, but there is a sense of opportunity that can be part of that.
And I think too, fear is always an opportunity for courage.
Yeah.
So we look at people who are defending our country. You look at the Special Forces and Navy SEALs. Those guys they process fear all the time, but they press forward in courage. And I think to do that, it's not a solo experience. Again, we talked a lot about community today, and you've got to do that with the help of others.
We have people here who lost jobs, who lost businesses. It's interesting when you talk about that. I love that whole thought that fear can open the door to courage. Back in 2008, when the economy, fell apart, I can't tell you how many people were in jobs that if they could do something else, they would, but they were showing up every day to work just to get the paycheck, but there was no fulfillment in it. There's one woman who said, she goes, I just created a job called Whatever. And I go, well, what do you mean by whatever? She goes, whatever. What do you need? She goes, I was stuck in a job I didn't like, and then I thought, at the very least, I can do things that people ask me to. You need me to take your dry cleaning? I'll take it. You need me to pick up lunch for you? I'll pick up your kids after school? I'll do it. And so it turned out to be a career for her before Favor and Uber and all that type of stuff. So it wasn't as scary. She said the big lesson she learned wasn't as scary as she thought it was going to be, that she could take care of herself because it was the sum of all the parts of who she is, and that's what we didn't lose. The things you may lose, and I realize it's got to be so tough to not be able to go back home, but if you still have self, that's where it all starts.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to add that there are some people that say over and over again, we've never flooded before. We've never had this before. And so that was their sense of security. Well, that happens to other people. Well, now it's happened to us. And they may need to talk to somebody, but whatever way they want to deal with that, that is a reasonable loss for them, that security, because it is different now. Now they know something they didn't know before, which is, yes, you could flood. And that's a hard thing. You've got to learn, you've got to cope with that as you cope with other difficulties of life.
And also you got to ask yourself again, before the flood, were you the type of person who didn't like change? You couldn't take change easily. You tried to control your life. And we see that with so many folks. I think for the most part, what we see in these times is what your natural self is, Robert?
Well,
Maybe
yeah.
magnified a little bit?
Right. So I think you take, a person's kind of regular disposition and it's amplified by an experience like this. So if you're anxious, you might be extremely anxious at a time like this. And I think it goes back to what Dr. Young said, which is that if you know what your kind of tendencies are, right, then you can look ahead at what kind of supportive resources you have, right, in your community, whether it's your faith community, whether it's therapeutic support or something like that. Because different people will handle this situation very differently. For people who are trained as special forces people, I'm sure that they would negotiate this very differently than someone who might suffer from an anxiety disorder, for example. And so I think the big thing is to know yourself enough to know where you need support and where you need additional kind of bolstering.
Yeah. All right, we'll be right back.